Hey everyone, this is Kennedy Hawk from Marvel Champions Monthly. There's been a lot of questions about how to play Tabletop Simulator and how to get it set up and installed, so I thought I'd make a quick video that takes everybody through the steps to install Tabletop Simulator, subscribe to the mods, and get playing the game. So we're going to be talking about Marvel Champions and how to get that set up. So I have two really special guests with me today. They're going to help me out. I have Captain America and Hawkeye here. These guys are going to help guide us along the way and figure out just what's going on in Tabletop Simulator. So we'll see what they have to say about this and how we get started. So the first thing you have to do is you need to download Steam. So I have Steam up on my screen. You can see my username up here is Kennedy Hawk. I think it's really some other name, but that's what it shows up as in game. So it's Redead Kennedy if you want to friend me. Once you've installed Steam and opened it on your Apple or PC or Windows PC, you'll have a bunch of different tabs up here. So you'll have Store, Library, Community, and then your name where you can see your friends list and like how much time you've sunk into games. Ignore this 500 hours of Tabletop Simulator. That may or may not be true. The first thing you're going to want to do is go to the store and search for, so here's the store, and we'll search for Tabletop Simulator. That's right, Cap has it figured out. So it'll show up right here. We can click on that to take us to the Tabletop Simulator store page. You can see it's usually $20 for a single pack or $60 for a 4-pack. So if you had 3 friends, you could all play together. Right now it's half off, so I encourage you in 25 hours, by the time this is posted, probably 24 hours, it will no longer be half off. So now is the time to get the game. You can see there's a lot of paid content down here, so if there's other tabletop games you like to play, you know, Stonemayer Games put out an actual mod of Wingspan, and you can pay some small fee to have that installed, and it'll look really nice and snazzy and professional on the table. There's a ton of games you can play that way, but what you're going to want to do for Marvel Champions at least is purchase at least a single copy of the game, maybe a 4-pack if you want to invite some friends to play with you as well. Next thing you're going to do is download the game, so it'll show up in your library. So we can go to my library here and then go to Tabletop Simulator. I'm an addict. I've played for over 500 hours. That happened today. It's very exciting. But what you'll see here is there's a bunch of different options. You can go to the store page. You can go to the community hub, like a forum. You can find groups or discussions. But what we're going to do is we're going to go to the workshop. So here in the workshop, we need to subscribe to the Marvel Champions mods. So we can search Marvel Champions, and workshops are things that users can make and upload, and then anybody can download them. So you can see when we search Marvel Champions, there's 327 results. That's a lot of mods for you to sort through. There's cool custom mods like the Lizard. People uploaded the Wrecking Crew right when it came out, so you can download all sorts of things, from Howard the Duck to Mewtwo and the Pokemons. But what you're going to want to do, at least for this video, you're going to want to subscribe to all 3, or the top 3 mods. So Cap's going to walk us through those. Subscribe to this SOF Crimson mod, this Funky Monk mod, and then this Marvel Champions The Big Box mod by Anastasia. Those are the top 3 mods that I would recommend. There's also some mods that have it in other foreign languages if you'd like to play in your native language. So once we've subscribed to the top 3, we can actually load up Tabletop Simulator and show you how those mods work. So it's going to get fired up here. I just disabled the music from the game because I find the Tabletop Simulator music not very calming. So you're going to get in here, you have a join and a create option. We can now create a table. So I'm going to create a table. You create a single player table. I'm going to show you how to create a multiplayer one. You can put a name in, so if you ever see a game where the server name is Marvel, the password is always Champions, because it's probably me playing it. You can have room for up to 10 people on your table. I'm going to make it for only 2 people in case someone wants to pop in and join us. Now you can see here there's a bunch of classic games that come automatic in Tabletop Simulator. There's some DLC games, and then there's the workshop mods that we just subscribed to. So we're going to go through those mods, and we're going to start with the Big Box mod. So you'll click load, it'll load the mod up, and we'll see what it has to say. Yeah, Hawkeye's totally right. This mod has a ton of space. I just did a hotkey there. We'll save those for later. This is the big box mod by Anastasia. You can see it's got the box here, it's got the rule books, it's got everything that's come out in the game. It looks like it's missing Wrecking Crew still, or it might be somewhere that I don't recognize. But it's got most of what you need, and it's got a huge table space. So there's plenty of room for 4 players to sit down and play the game. It's got all the tokens you need. It's got a villain life meter and life meters for the other 4 players. and very little else in there. So it's not going to take forever to load. It's not going to load thousands of extra objects that are just flashy and cool looking. And it's just got a pretty cool looking table. So really great for multiplayer, and that's when I use this one. If you're in a game and you ever want to switch mods, you just click game, and now we can switch. We're going to go to the second mod choice here. We'll see what Hawkeye has to say. This one lets you load your own deck. That's crazy. So let's choose a color here. And once you choose a color, there should be a way to turn on the UI right here. Under players, you can choose how many players are playing. It'll make the table bigger. You can load a deck. So you could put in a URL from Marvel CDB, and it would load your deck for you. I don't have one copied to my clipboard. I probably should have done that. You can also automate the encounter setup. So you can say, I want to play Ultron with Masters of Evil on expert mode. And it's going to make everything for you. They're loading here very slowly, and there we go. So now we have all that set up, and we'd have our player deck down here if we loaded. So we're ready to play the game real fast. So I really like this mod for playing solo. The table does get bigger for multiplayer, but I found that I like having all the extra flashy features of this third mod we're going to look at when we play multiplayer. And the last mod we're going to look at is the Crimson SOF mod. It's just called Marvel Champions LCG. You can see there's a ton of things here. We're going to go through where all the things are, but it's got all the hero cards over here. It's got all the villain cards. Here's all the villains and modular sets. It has Rhino set up for you, so you can do a learning game right away. It's got custom life meters for everybody. There's a bag of playmats over here. Everything in the world you want is just sitting in this mod. So let's see what Hawkeye has to say about that. He says this is an awkward view. How do I change it? He's right. This is an awkward view. Well, let's go through some of the hotkeys here quick. So let's see. Does anybody know the answer to that? It looks like Captain America does. If we press P, it's going to change the camera view. So we can go to top-down view, we can go to third-person view, we can go to first-person view. And if we right-click with our mouse and just scroll around, we can zoom and look around the room, sitting somewhere in some really fancy room here. I've never been in the room this fancy. And whoa, there's a whole table up here. This is all custom mods designed by the community. So if you're looking for a custom mod, this is the place to go. But we're going to focus on this main table right here. So I'm going to reload the mod so it's centered on the table, and I don't have to putz with the camera to get there. I always play in top-down view when I'm taking videos, so now we're nice in here in top-down view. So let's see what other questions we have here from our helpers. So yeah, the first thing we have to do is pick a seat. So we did that earlier. We chose a color in our other mod, and it kept the color. So you can change where your seat is, and later, if you draw a card, it's going to show up where your hand is. So we'll talk about that later, but your seat is what gets you a spot at the table. So if you don't have a color, you're not going to be able to draw cards, you're not going to be able to shuffle the villain deck. The first thing you need to do is choose a color. If you had a second player up here, we don't have one right now, you could also click up here if you're the host to promote that player. And that's pretty cool, because you really need to promote players so that they can load their decks. So saved objects, Captain America just talked about that. Let's create a deck here really quick. We're going to pull things out of Spider-Man's bag. I'm just going to take all these Spider-Man cards, and I'm going to take all these aggression cards. And that's a 53 card deck, so that's slightly too big, so I'm going to remove 3 of them. I don't even care what they are. Just making a legal deck here. So I've now got Spider-Man. Oh, I shouldn't have thrown those in there yet, because the... Oh, here it is. The last thing in there is his obligation set. We're going to need that. So yeah, the hero sets are all over here. There's a bag for each hero that's been released. There's a bag for each aspect and basic. The starter decks are up here, but if you want just the hero cards and obligations, they'll be in these little bags. But I talked about saved objects, and what you want to do is you don't want to have to build your deck every time you come into this table, because it doesn't have the nice loader like the Funky Monk mod. So if you highlight a bunch of things and say save object, I can save this as Spider-Man deck. The whip. So yeah, I saved my deck, and now I can load it. So if I go to objects, saved objects, here's all the objects that I have saved. So I can load that Spider-Man deck. It just brought another copy in. You can even create those little bags if you go to components, tools, bag. Just realized I'm blocking all my cards from you guys with this corny little Captain America thing. So I'm going to move the cards down here so you guys can see them. But yeah, I loaded like an extra copy of all those objects. So I'm going to delete all the extra stuff and do that again. So here I have my cards. I did right-click Save Object. I told it what to save it as. And now if I go to Objects, Saved Objects, I can load those cards, and they're going to appear right behind Captain America's word bubble, another set of those cards. Under Objects, Components, we can go to Tools and load a bag. So you can even make like a little deck bag for your deck. That way it doesn't throw things all over the table when it loads in, because you can save that bag as an object. Pretty spiffy. So that's how I load in decks usually. So I'm going to save this as Amazing Spider-Man Deck Bag. All right. Oh, Hawkeye wants us to do a quiz. So we're going to do a quiz in some of the other hotkeys and see what we can learn. So Cap, what's our first question here? How do you exhaust a card? Well, we'll have to get some cards out to test that out. So how do you exhaust a card? Let's say we had Spider-Man out here and we wanted to attack with Spider-Man. I can exhaust him really easily. Pretty cool. Let's see if Hawkeye knows the answer. He does. You press E or Q. So if you hover over Hawkeye or Spider-Man and press E or Q, you're going to tap Spider-Man left or right, or exhaust him in this game's terms. You'll notice he's turning like fully 90 degrees. Up here at the top, there's a little rotation degrees box. So I can tap him only 15 degrees, or 30, or 45, 60, or 90. I leave mine set at 90. That way he's always turning all the way. So E will rotate him clockwise, Q will rotate him counterclockwise. Good job, Hawkeye. All right, next question. How do you change the angle to exhaust up top? Well, I already told you guys that. I'm behind on my little clicking of images. Look what I've done here. Now, how do you shuffle a deck? Okay, well, I've got my deck here, and I need to shuffle this deck and draw it into my hand. So I'm going to press R for randomize. Let's see if Hawkeye knew the answer to that one. Press R for randomize. Cool. So this will randomize my deck. So if I draw 5 cards, I'll get those 5 random ones. If I put them back into the deck and shuffle again, draw 5 cards, again, I get a different set of 5 cards. Another tip here, this is my hand, right? But I can't see, if I was in multiplayer, I can't see other people's hands. It's blocked off. So if I press H, it will hide my hand. And you'll notice there's multiple player seats. So if I am the green player, I can no longer see what's in the red player's hand. You can change that under Options, Hands, Hiding, Disable. So now if you want to play a learning game, you can see what's in everybody's hand and help them out. Pretty cool. Another tip that isn't in the word bubbles, but will be in the comments and description. If you hold Alt over something, it's going to do a zoom-in view of it. So, like, obviously, it's really hard to read Spider-Man's text when I'm this zoomed out. But I can just hover over him and press Alt and read exactly what Spider-Man's doing. All right, pan the camera left. I guess I've been doing that for a while. I have to remember which way is left. Oh, this way is left. Yeah, so if I press W, A, S, and D, I can pan the camera any direction I want. If I want to zoom in on just my play area, I can use the mouse scroll wheel to get Spider-Man on there. If I want to investigate what's going on with the villain, I can use the mouse scroll wheel for that. So there's lots of options of what to do there. I drew cards to my hand already. Let's go take a third player's seat. So I'm hovering over this deck, and I'm going to press the number 3. And it drew 3 cards to my hand. So that's how you draw cards. You can press 1 to add a card to your hand. You can press 10 to add 10 cards to your hand. So be careful if you're trying to draw your hand. This is my classic mistake. I'm going to put all the cards back in the deck. We'll teach you how to do that in a minute. I've got all these cards in my deck, and I'm like, oh, I want to draw 6 cards, and I accidentally double tapped 6. I drew 66 cards. That's my whole deck. So that's not what you want to do. So just some tips and tricks for drawing. Some other things you'll probably want to learn. Eventually, Rhino is going to deal encounter cards to you. And those encounter cards, you can hover over them and press F to flip them. Same thing with a face-down Ultron drone. If you need to flip it before you discard it, you can just press F. So pretty cool. Are there any good communication tools? So obviously you can use Discord to do talking. That's pretty easy. Let's see what Hawkeye has to say. Oh, the tab key. Yeah, so Rhino's up here, and if I want to tell my opponent, but I don't have a microphone, that I'm going to attack Rhino, I can press tab. And it's hard to see at this angle. Let me change my view, but it's going to create a little arrow saying, I'm going for this guy. I'm going for this guy. If you press tab, hold it down, and draw with the mouse, you can draw cards. So you could say Spider-Man is attacking Rhino by drawing a line between the two. So just some quick communication tool tips that Hawkeye wanted to tell us about. Well, Cap says that's all he's got to tell us for now, but there's a couple other tips and tricks we can teach you guys. So you can rotate the camera by holding the right click mouse and moving your mouse around. I already mentioned zooming with holding Alt. Another tip is if you press V, you'll see that little microphone appear in the top right by my name. There's actually a team chat feature within Tabletop Simulator. It's not very stable, so I recommend Discord over that, but it is an option of what you could do. So let's review all those common hotkeys so you guys can be ready to play a game. So quick recap here. Lots of keywords and lots of things to remember, but the main thing is as soon as you get in the table, choose a color, because the most common thing I do is I forget to choose a color. I try to draw my cards and it doesn't give me any cards in my hand, and I say, what's going on? It's because I didn't choose a color. Make sure you promote the other people so that they can also load in decks and get themselves set up. Just the hotkeys you should remember: WASD, that's going to move the keyboard around. P is going to toggle us through different camera views. So toggling through camera views. Oh my gosh, this is like the worst view ever. I'm gonna load it so I don't have to fix that view. All right, here's the villain deck. R is gonna shuffle that villain deck. If you want to make something bigger, like say you load your deck and it's really small, you can hold down the plus sign or the minus sign, and again you can hold Alt to do a zoomed in view of your card. Q and E are going to rotate cards, so that's how you'll rotate. You can use Tab to communicate and V to disable the voice chat. And if you wanted to draw a card, you can even draw encounter cards this way. You can draw an encounter card by pressing 1. It'll throw it into your hand. So any card out there you can draw. So let's look around the board a little bit, just as Cap told us to, so we make sure we know where everything is. So I'll take you guys through where things are. Your hero cards are going to be over here. These are all the released heroes. The life meters are all over up here. Aspect cards and basic cards. We've got a first player token and a 1 token for each type. There's also other tokens over here if you're looking for 3s or 5s or accelerations or stun things. There's playmats in this bag, so there's lots of playmats you can load, from custom playmats to the FFG playmats. Wow, I just destroyed the Tabletop Simulator interface right there. There's lots of villain decks, so you can pull in the Claw deck, or you can pull in the Green Goblin Musion formula deck, and all the encounter sets are here, so you can pull in Running Interference or whatever you want. We have some custom challenge modes from the Marvel Champions Monthly podcast, so you can try those out if you want. And up at the top of the table, there's a ton of custom content, whether it's villains, heroes, you name it. They're even sorted a little bit, so Fantastic Four, X-Men, Justice League, you can find them up there. But this is Tabletop Simulator, so get out there, enjoy the game. Make sure you buy the physical game as well, because that's the only way you can really support the company. But if you wanted a tutorial on how to play the game, how to get it loaded, how to get it set up, this will hopefully help you out. You can, I'll leave the little recap up here so you guys can leave this screen up on a second screen or take a screenshot of it or whatever you need as a quick tool tip for learning the hotkeys and how to play the game. So enjoy.